you can still apply. What happens here is that you see some schools you can explain your statement of purpose why your GPA is below 3.0. If you have a genuine reasons why your GPA is not 3.0, some schools can still give you admission. Oh, Tali, normal. I say normal. God is taking care of us, so it's normal. I'm glad to reconnect with you. No, and I recommend whatever you are doing, that you just keep it up.
All right. I'm very glad for your time as well. And then we are zooming into it. So you would mention your name, your university, and also the course that you are pursuing in the country as well.
Okay, so I would say my name is Peter Jackson, and I'm from Ghana. I had my bachelor's degree in political science with economics from the University of Education, Miniba. I graduated in 2023, and I came to United States, specifically the Wyoming states, and I'm pursuing political science as a graduate studies. So I'm doing my master's in political science at the University of Wyoming here in the United States.
All right, I'm very glad to hear that. So will you tell us about your journey, how all things were started with you when you were doing your admissions and all that?
Okay, so I would say I started my journey as early 2022 whilst I was in Ghana for my internship. So whilst I was doing the internship, I was also looking at how I can be able to get myself into the universities in US and then that of Canada specific. So I tried as much as possible to sit down, search through schools in US and that of Canada and know how their requirements and what should I also do in advance to meet those requirements. So I was searching through schools back and forth, midnight every day. I have to make sure that I search for like 5 schools every day and explore their website to get myself familiar with some of their styles that they are doing there. So I would say that is how my journey started, and I came across different schools in the United States, but I landed myself here as a graduate student because in the process of searching for the schools, I also try in as much as possible to get in contact with some of the graduate coordinators of the school. So the graduate coordinator that's I met during my search was a kind of a cool person who opened up to me, and we shared a lot of similarity in terms of research interest. So I was able to leverage on what he's doing over there as a means to apply, and I think that's the little I can share.
All right, that's glad. And then will you be able to tell us about your application, how your application was particularly about, how you did your application and all that?
Okay, so for US specific, most of the schools require you to have a CGPA of 3.0. So CGPA, that was one aspect of it. So you have to look at your CGPA to see if you meet their requirements in terms of the CGPA. And they also want you to submit a statement of purpose. Some call it motivational letter, others call it, I don't know, but it's like statement of purpose. So statement of purpose is something that you have to write about yourself, things that you are interested, your academic background, your experiences in terms of research. So that is something that you have to write. And also you have to submit, how do you call it, 3 recommendation letters from your professors. They have to write recommendations about you. So that was some of the requirements. And so I wrote my statement of purpose. I wrote it. And then I also contacted some of the lecturers in the University of Education, Miniba, so that they will write the recommendation letters for me. So the recommendation letters, US specifically, you would provide the reference emails, and then they will reach out to those people that write the recommendation letters for you. So that is how it is. So I just provided the reference emails, and then they reach out to the professors in Ghana, and then they wrote my recommendation letters for me. And so I just went through the application portal. I I have to fill in the necessary details about myself, and then I have to scan my transcript, unofficial transcript, and I submitted those things. And then I think my lecturers in Ghana also submitted my reference letters, and then I think I paid an application fee of $50, and so the process is so easy. Some schools will require you to submit a test scores like GRE. So if you're an international student and you're applying to some of the schools in the United States or Canada, you have to look at their requirements specifically, because if you don't meet all the requirements, the probability that you will not get admission is high. So for me, I was looking at schools that will not require GRE. GRE is a graduate record examination, and it is a test course that most schools in US, some schools, I would say some schools in US would ask you to submit GRE. So my department was not requesting for that GRE. So I was able to leverage on just my transcript, my SOP, and then the recommendation letters, and then I paid my application fees.
Oh, that's fine.
And again, let me touch on this. If you're an international student and you're applying for schools in the US or Canada, sometimes you have to also consider the priority deadlines. Priority deadline. You have to know the deadline, because if you meet the priority deadline, the probability that sometimes you can get admission and then you get a funding is high. So you have to consider the priority deadline so that you can put in your application as possible as you can, so that you can fall within the priority deadlines. And if you fall within the priority deadlines, sometimes you can be considered for a partial scholarship or maybe a full scholarship, depending on the pool of applicants.
All right, so that's fine. So we will talk about the GPA before, after the GPA, we talk about the scholarships as well. So you mentioned that without 3.0 or above GPA, would it be very difficult for you to find a school in the United States, or you would have to have any good SOP? Or is it securing an admission in the United States only based on the GPA, or your SOP and the recommendation also take a lot of factors in securing an admission in the United States?
Okay, so for me, I would say like the GPA counts. Yeah, the GPA counts, because you don't know the pool of applicants that are applying for the school. So the GPA counts. But you know, there are some students with low GPAs like 2.7, and they will also apply, and then they will get admission. But then when it comes to the funding, that is where sometimes some schools would consider the average GPA, and some schools the average GPA will be like 3.5, 3.7 before they give you scholarship. So GPA really counts. But then if your GPA is not 3.0, you can still apply. What happens here is that, you see, some schools, you can explain your statement of purpose why your GPA is below 3.0. If you have a genuine reasons why your GPA is not 3.0, some schools can still give you admission. And sometimes to your CGPA, let me say your CGPA will not be 3.0, but then they can also look at your second and fourth year at the university. So let's say your level 300 and your level 400 GPAs. Sometimes you can have a very good GPAs in your level 300 and then your level 400. But then maybe your final GPA or maybe your cumulative GPA will not be 3.0, but you still have a very good GPA from level 300, 400. But then when they add the cumulatively, you didn't get the 3.0, but you can still be accepted into the graduate schools here, depending on what you want to do, and then the way you want to communicate. I think it's all about communication. you're able to communicate effectively in your statement of purpose why maybe some circumstances made you not to get the 3.0, you can be admitted. And you see, I also say that sometimes the GPA is important, but the GPA should not be the reason why you must not apply. You have to still put in the effort and apply, and just believe that everything is possible. That is it. You have to believe that everything is possible. Yes, everything is possible. So regardless of your GPA, you have to still put in application that GPA really counts.
All right. So it means that even if you had a low GPA, you can explain that in your SOP to the admission office that this is the reason for you having a low GPA. And also you can also after explaining that to the admissions that you have low GPA, you can do that. And some of them they base on the factors of your school transcript, either the first or second semesters of level 400 or 300 to give an admission to the applicant, right?
Yes. So
All right.
like most of the schools, they believe that the level 100, 200 courses are like a kind of introductory courses. So they normally want to look at the 300 and 400 courses because the 300 and 400 courses are more advanced. So if let's say your level 300 GPAs are very high, 400 GPAs are very high, but then cumulatively you didn't fall within the 3.0, you can still explain in your SOP the circumstances that made you not to get 3.0. And I think you can get admission. Yes, you can get admission. And also sometimes schools in the United States, they don't only consider GPA only. Yes, even though the average GPA for admission is 3.0, but then sometimes they also look at your CV. Yeah, your CV. Some students have exceptional skills, experiences that is far beyond their GPA that can get them into graduate schools here with someone who has a very high GPA but maybe has no experiences. And one thing that professors in the United States specifically consider much in giving admission or offer to international students sometimes research interest. If you have a very solid research interest, and if you can say or write it in your SOP and express your research interest and align it with some professors in the department that you want to apply, the probability of you getting admission is high than someone who has a very high GPA but maybe does not have any research interest.
All right, that's fine. So you tell us about the funding, the scholarship opportunities in your school. Tell us currently which school are you studying in, the funding and also the scholarships available in the school. Are you studying on scholarship? Did you get a fully funded scholarship or a partial scholarship? Tell us how you secured all that. Yeah, we would want to know all.
Okay, so my journey to United States will be like it's a kind of a journey of grace, because I'm not a first class student. My GPA is 3.36. So how did I leverage on getting a fully funded scholarship? I got a graduate teaching assistantship. So graduate teaching assistantship covers tuition. It gives you a stipend, and some covers health insurance. And for me, fortunate enough, my assistantship covers health insurance too. So I would say it's a fully funded. But like I told you, I started searching for schools in 2022 as I was doing my internship back in Ghana. So I was able to get in touch with the graduate coordinator of the school that I'm currently in, which is the University of Wyoming. I'm in the University of Wyoming. So the graduate coordinator then, who is currently the chair of the department, and I'm still working with this coordinator, I was able to express myself that I am Peter Jackson from Ghana. I am doing this and this and that as my research areas. And currently, I'm in my final year and I'm preparing to graduate very soon. And I've gone through some of his profiles and stuff and the areas that he's focusing on, some areas that I'm much interested in. So we started a conversation.
Is that what we refer to as the cold emailing? Like you just
the cold email. Yeah, the cold email. So
All right.
you have to be strategic with a cold email. Yeah, you have to know why you are sending a cold mail to a professor, and don't just write a generic things. You have to write specific things that would get the professor's attention to get back to you, because the professor, they have a lot of they receive a lot of emails every day. So if you don't put in something that will get his attention, the probability that you not get response is high. So I was able to leverage on his research areas, and I reached out to him, and we started an open conversation. So that is how it started. So my scholarship is like a graduate teaching assistantship. So in US, if you are an international student and you want to apply to universities in US or Canada, you have to focus on the graduate teaching assistantship or graduate research assistantship or graduate administrative assistantship. So with the graduate teaching assistantship, which is the scholarship that they mostly they mostly offer to international students, is that like if they give you the teaching assistantship, you are coming to work with the professor. You are coming to work with the professor. So the professor will assign some duties like a form of teaching or grading for you to handle, and then every month they give you a stipend, and they waive your tuition for you, so you're not going to pay tuition. And some assistantship covers health insurance, like my own, it covers health insurance. So I think that the scholarship that international students should look at. So if you want to apply to any schools outside, let's say US, you have to be sure that the department that we are applying have this kind of assistantship scholarships that they can offer to international students. Some comes in a form of research, some comes in a form of teaching, and some comes in a form of administrative. So administratively, if you get an assistantship, it means you work in their offices. If you get a teaching assistantship, it means you work with a professor in the areas of teaching. And then if you get the research assistantship, it means you are going to work with some professors in the research laboratories or those kind of areas where they conduct research. I think that is it. So my journey was
okay. So the school application and cold emailing the lecturer, the professor, which of them came first with regards to your situation?
Okay, so I started talking to the professor, I would say 8 months, even far before I even applied, because our graduation was in 2023, right?
Yeah, so it means that you had already secured the professor before you started your application.
Sure. I didn't just put in my application. I had a connection with the professor, a very solid.
So with regards to this, what will you recommend? Like, you should secure the professor first, you start your application, or you start your application after that you secure the professor?
Subjectively, if I'm to say subjectively, I would say it's best for you to write to professors even before you apply to schools here, because recommendation is very key. Who knows you? Sometimes it works. Who knows you? It works. You see, even before you apply for schools, these professors expect you to submit recommendation letters. So you can imagine if a professor from the department that you want to apply to can recommend you for the graduate studies to accept you. You see how it is. So ideally, you have to reach out to professors to express your research interest and align yourself with them, for them to get to know this is Salas or this is Peter from Ghana is interested in what I'm doing, so that if this professor is also interested in what you are doing, he can recommend you. Who knows? He can recommend you. I'm sure my professor recommended me for an admission because I exchanged 42 code mail. I exchanged 42 emails with the professor. 42.
Wow.
So I was very strategic.
That's
I was
not
very
easy.
strategic. I was very strategic because I knew the pool of applicants can be so high, and it can be very competitive to get into United States as an international student on a scholarship, even though you might have a very high GPA, but you have to be strategic. So reaching out to professors, I think, is the best. You have to reach out to them first, even before you put in your application.
Even I believe that reaching out to a professor, letting him or her knows your interest with regards to their research and all that will also help you to have the funding and all that, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's 100%. Because if someone knows you that Peter is coming and he's from Ghana and is interested in what I'm doing, remember the professors, some of them are also members of the admission committee. So
Yeah.
when they come together and they are taking decision, some of them can recommend you. Just like, oh, I want this person. I want to work with this person. And once the professor recommend you, automatically they are giving you the scholarship to come. So it's advisable for an international student who want to come to United States with a very good GPA. Don't trust your GPA. I'm telling you, don't trust your GPA. That, oh, maybe I have 3.6 or 3.7. So automatically, if I apply, I'm going to get admission. No, you can have a very solid GPA and get admission without funding. So sometimes try to reach out to some of the professors in the department that you want to apply just to learn what they are doing and let them also get to know you. And some may be interested in you. And like I told you, some of the professors are members of the admission committee in a department and they can recommend you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
And
So,
even let me come in. Like I told you, I exchanged 42 emails with the professor. And out of the 42 emails, I will say, I can say 32 will come from me and maybe 10 will come from the professor. So I was able to engage the professor on a diverse perspectives, topics, areas that the professor would be interested. And even out of this code made, the professor recommended a Ghanaian student in their department to me. So I got in touch with a Ghanaian student in the department that I wanted to submit my application because by then that student was also working with the professor. So the professor recommended that student to me because I was coming from Ghana and that student is also from Ghana and working with the professor. The professor just linked the student to me. So I was able to also get in touch with the student and she was also very resourceful to me because she had the opportunity to review my SOPs and gave me some ideas and advice on how to go about my application. So imagine if I have not sent a code mail, like I wouldn't get the chance to even get in touch with the international student who was also coming from Ghana.
all right, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me a lot. So, it means that the professor recommended you to another Ghanaian, that
Sure,
there is someone that is also interested in the topic that he or she is doing and all that.
sure.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I'm very glad. And also, whatever that you said with regards to the school application, the funding and all that, it makes sense. So let's come back to the visa stuffs and all that. So how was your interview like? You had your interview in Ghana, or where did you have your, because we've had a lot of people that they go to Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and all that to have their interview. So where did you have your interview and what was the process?
Okay, so like I would say my journey is a journey of grace because I applied my school in early January 2023.
Mhm.
Yes, I applied my school in early January 2023 with some unofficial transcript. I was working as a teaching assistant in Uniba, University of Education. So I had a chance to talk to the exams officer in Ghana and he prepared my transcript for me. So fast forward from 2023 January, I applied. I got my admission and scholarship in March. Then I submitted a bank statement to show a proof of fund. Even though I had a fully funded, but then there was an amount that I needed to show on my I-20 coming from me to complete the funding that they've given me because they were having a total cost of what? Attendance. And the total cost of attendance was like 16K for living expenses. And the scholarship they gave me was like a 12K something, you know. So I needed to provide the bank statement. As soon as I got my bank statement provided to the international office of my school, this gave me my I-20. So
I-20.
so I got my I-20 somewhere in April 2023. And quickly I had to go to the US website, I think the visa website, and then I filled out my DS-160. After filling out my DS-160, I also went and purchased my how do you say MRV or whatever.
MRV, yeah, MRV fees. You
So
paid it, yeah.
I paid my MRV and I got
$160.
160. I think now they've increased it.
$185 for now.
Sure. So I paid my MRV and then I got the unique code and then I filled out my DS-160 and I after my DS-160, I think yes, I have to review it for some time before I will submit. And I wanted to secure a date for my visa interview because April, you come to May, right? April, May, June, July, August. See, a lot of students will be coming in the fall. So fall starts in August. So the pressure in the US embassy in Ghana.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky. I got my appointment somewhere like 2024. I'm supposed to come to the school in 2023 August.
Then you had your appointment in 2024.
I had my visa appointment in 2024.
You would have to apply for emergency.
Fast forward, I have to apply for an emergency. So when I applied for the emergency, it took me like 1 week. I was not hearing it. I was not hearing this. I was like, hey, are they going to reject my emergency? But
yeah, I have seen a lot of cases that people,
and then they just gave me a feedback that my emergency has been approved, so I should just follow the link and then choose any available date. So quickly I log into the system, and when I log into the system, I found 18 July 2023. So I was like, wow, I'm lucky. So 18 July.
When were you to report to the school?
I'm supposed to come to the school in August.
In August.
August. Yeah.
And then you had your date in July.
18 July. So quickly I picked 18 July, and that is the story. So, and okay, so on a very fateful day of 18 July, a young boy from SiBerTours, and by then I was a TA.
Sure.
So everybody was aware that I didn't know how the thing spread.
Escalated, like everyone knows that you are going for visa.
No, they didn't know that I'll be going for the visa interview on 18
But they've known that you've had your admission from the US.
So the expectation was high. If I go and I don't get visa, it will be something. So I really put in effort. I joined a lot of visa groups. Yeah, they have a lot of visa groups and then I learned so many stuff. So I prepared heavily. I prepared so heavily because most of the questions that you should expect is, why are you going to this school? What are you going to do? How are you going to fund yourself? These are basic questions that you should expect from visa officers. So I prepared myself well. That's okay. If I go and they ask me, why did you choose this school? Which answer should I give? Why this program? Which answer should I give? How did you get your funding? Which answer should I give? After school, what is your plans? Sometimes they want to ask you this question after school, what is your plan? Whether you tell them that, after school, I want to stay in the United States and work, so that they know that, no, if you come,
you don't have any home ties.
Ghana. Then, so I prepared myself very well, and I went, and then yes, they asked me this question that we should expect. Why political science? The first thing they asked me, why am I going to study political science? And I told them that my bachelor degree was in political science, and so I want to further my master's in political science because I have an interest in returning back to Ghana to become a lecturer in the field of politics, and also in the future I want to enter into politics. So I just want to get deeper understanding of politics, and I think going outside to study some of the things that they are doing here will help me to blend a lot of knowledge and come back to Ghana to help my nation, something like that. And they asked me, so how did I how did I got this scholarship, and I explained to them that I put in a very competitive application. I did all that I have to do. I submitted my SOP, my CV, my transcripts, my recommendation letters, and I went through an interview. Even though for me, they didn't interview with my scholarships, but some students, before you get the scholarship, you have to go for an interview. I mean, I didn't go for an interview, but I told them that I went for an interview and I was shortlisted for this scholarship. So I got the scholarship in, and I was like, oh, interesting. And they asked me, so after my master's, what is my plan? And I told them, I'm already a teaching assistant at the University of Education. So after my master's, I'm coming back to continue my teaching assistantship duties in Ghana, because in the future I want to be a professor. So blah blah blah. And the woman just watched. She looked at my face and was like, "Congratulations, your visa has been approved." They didn't even ask for my bank statement or anything. So I think my visa interview was also very successful, and I think it took me like 1 to 2 minutes. The questions are very fast, so you have to prepare yourself if you know what you want to go and say. But yes, you have to relax too. When you go, don't go and do yourself like that kind of timid. That kind of if you allow
You
panic
should
to,
have the confidence speaking.
yeah, you should speak confidently and be fluent with whatever that you are saying. Let them know that you know what you are up to. And so my visa interview took me like 1 minute, and everything was successful because they looked at my I-20, and in fact, they saw that I have the scholarship. Yes, whatever that I was saying reflected in my trade, that I'll be giving an assistantship that covers my tuition, health insurance, and it's going to give me a stipend. So sometimes when they know that you have a proof of funds, like getting a visa is hard. But even if you don't have a scholarship, sometimes international students be like, oh, if I don't have a scholarship, when I go for the visa interview, I'll be rejected. No, please. When you are going for your visa interview, be well prepared. Have the composure, be flexible. The confidence level should be there. Have every supportive document with you that you think can give you an advantage if they ask for those documents. So even if you don't have if you don't have a fully funded scholarship, or if you have a partial scholarship, or if you don't have a scholarship at all and you have a very good bank statement, please still go for your visa. Go when you're going, just have it at the back of your mind that I am going for my visa. It is something that is already waiting for me, so I'm going for it. So like me, when I was going, I told myself that, okay, I'm going for my visa. It is mine, so I'm just going for it. And I went and I was well prepared. Because sometimes you can have a fully funded, but if you are not
You will
able
still be
to
rejected. You should be very confident whenever that visa
tell them
officer
the
is
story
interviewing.
that
Yeah.
you can be rejected. So whether you have a scholarship or not, and you think we have a very good bank statement, a very genuine bank statement, and you think you are well prepared, just go for the visa. When you go and you get it, fine. If you don't get it, there's no harm in trying.
You should try again. And that was your first attempt.
Yeah, my first attempt.
All right. I'm very glad to hear that. That was your first attempt that you had your visa approved.
First attempt, my first attempt.
Oh,
And my story too was like I applied for one school. As I say, my journey is a journey of grace. I
yeah.
applied for
So means that you secured a professor before your school application, right?
sure.
Yeah, after you secured the professor, you applied to the school, your visa interview too was very flexible. You were able to have the confidence to express yourself to the visa officers. That is an officer, yeah, a visa officer, yeah. All right, that's very nice. I'm very glad to hear all that from you. And I'm very, very glad for having you this time for you to tell us your journey with regards to your school application and your visa interview as well. And I hope to see you again for another interview for a very thorough SOP writing and other things that we need to know when we are applying to schools and all that.
Sure.
All right. So thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
All right.